Yo guys, Brofessor Theo here on Common Sense. It's been a while since we did a muscle group video, so here we are. Today we're gonna go over how to build Armageddon arms. And I know what you all are thinking. What does this guy with those puny toothpick arms think he knows about arm training? It is true, arms have always been a weak point of mine, the most difficult muscle group for me, especially so the biceps. And I know some of you are gonna say, but Theo, you don't have small arms, blah, 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 blah. I know that I don't have, objectively small arms compared to the average person, but first of all, I never compare myself to the average person because just look, I mean, even saying that you're above average means nothing when the population you're comparing yourself to is such a disgrace. But other than that, I'm 177 centimeters, 90 kilos now, fairly bulked up, but still is fairly lean, abs still. And my arms, actually I was happy to see when I measured my arms right before this that I made some progress. Last time I measured them, they were 41.5 centimeters. Today, on point 42 centimeters. And that should be like 16.5 inches or slightly more than that. And actually I feel like I finally have a bit of a peak going there. I always felt I had this very flat biceps. But just saying, those 16.5 inches compared to my other stats, it's just not that big of an arm, But since arms have been a difficult muscle for me, I would argue that this is why I have many ideas, because I've had to try so much, right? It's kind of funny, right, that even before getting into fitness, big arms was always something that was impressive to me. Obviously, the thing that you like is more difficult for you to get. Like everything in training you have to work for, but I'm just saying everything on the torso, if I just want to grow it, I've pretty much been able to, while arms I've experimented and sometimes that just didn't work out the way I wanted, But for this reason, I think I have many ideas to bring to the table, and I'll say more than, of course, all my muscle group videos are going to be based on my experience and my training a lot, but also training other people. But I think this one, because arms have been something that I want to grow but had issues with and I had to experiment a lot, I think this one will be even more influenced by my experience with it. So yeah, you will see that that's why the biceps section is also bigger. But here we go. So the biceps, it has two heads like the biceps would suggest. Both of them flex the elbow, but one of them attaches over the shoulder joint, so it also contributes a bit to elbow flexion. But more importantly to know, that means that if we want to get a full stretch on that head, we're gonna have to get our arm behind our body like this. Also, the biceps also supinate the wrist, which might not be important for everyone to train, but it's good to know that turning the wrist outwards, like turning your palm towards you, that's a function of the biceps as well. And so I just put here first, kind of 5 exercises I think will, most people will find that some combination of these are gonna work well to build the biceps. So first of all, just a standard straight barbell curl. You could experiment with grip width. That's something I want to come to, especially for someone like myself. I've had to experiment with little minute details with biceps more than anything, because it just seems like, for instance, this arm here that also brachioradial, this muscle, that also flexes the elbow, that it's so easy for it to take over or contribute too much for me. So even just, this is one muscle, if you've been like me, I would urge you to really just try many different things and really listen to your body, like what is going on here, right? Or a straight barbell curl would be sort of a compound for the bicep, right? Then we have the dumbbell curls, and this is when we can actually, again, if we've been having trouble with growing our biceps, now we can add that supination as we curl. You to try to isolate, try to make sure that we curl more with the biceps than the other arm flexors. You have the preacher curl, and so this one, it's going to give a full stretch on one of the heads of the biceps, but more importantly, it puts the most stress on the preacher curl with a bench like this, right? It puts the most stress on it's most heavy in the lengthened position, pretty much. So it really emphasizes that lengthened position. Then, of course, it's just a good way to isolate that you really can dig your elbows into this bench. Then we have the incline curl. This is the one when we can actually get behind our body, sit on typically, I like a 45-degree bench, but some people do 60-degree, but the point is just to be able to sit and have your arms behind you and curl. Then the hammer curl, that I'll say that, because there has been some controversy lately, the hammer curls are no good, a certain bald doctor says, you know. A lot of people disagree. I disagree too, but for me personally, because the hammer curl would be to build more of the brachioradialis and that brachialis, that other muscle that's kind of hidden in the biceps here. To me, I feel like those are the ones that I've tended to hit more anyway. So I will try a block with doing more hammer curls just to see what happens. But you know, if you've struggled with the biceps in particular, that's when I think maybe hammer curls isn't the exercise to go to. But if you've been building your biceps just fine and you want to add size to that area, yeah, sure, throw in a hammer curl variation. But so now, wrist position. This is like, you know, in theory, it should be that the more supinated you are, the more you use your biceps, because now it's more like in line with the biceps. What we have little individual anatomy. We don't always have to understand exactly why. We just have to understand that, well, clearly what should technically work on paper just isn't for me. I'll say for me, for instance, when I've done incline curls with a very supinated position, I just tended to feel it still a lot in the brachioradialis, you know. Same thing with barbell curls. I've done them very supinated, and yeah, it just seems like other arm flexors want to take over for me many times. So I found lately that this kind of grip for me, you know, using like an EC bar or Z bar, when you're not in a complete hammer position, but you're also not completely supinated. I'm experimenting on some exercises now using that grip, and I'm just listening to how I feel that. Yeah, I just feel it more in the biceps, actually. So, but this is not to say, for you it could be the exact opposite, that you've been using this bar only and you don't see good biceps growth. Well, maybe try doing a more supinated with a straight bar or something. But the point is just that this is one of the things to take into consideration. Same thing with the supination. It has to do with a, you know, we call this a supinated wrist position. But again, that's something I'm trying lately. I've done like just regular old standing alternating curls like this, just to really hone in on that it's the biceps. Like I said, it's the biceps I'm using. If I do a supination throughout the movement, you know, in theory it should recruit more of the biceps doing the curling, right? And then rep range, yeah, that's also, I think, if you've had a tricky time growing your biceps, like to me, I've liked going heavy, like not cheating with the form, you know, but like treating almost every exercise as a sort of compound, you know. But with biceps, I've just not seen it really work out on all exercises at least. So lately, I've been trying just doing higher reps. Actually, I'll tell you my current, because experiment is what I want to urge you to do if you're having problems with this. You're going to have to drop. I've been sometimes, I think, like committed to like, no, but this should work. It should work. And then it just hasn't, you know. So get out of your ego, I don't know, but just your stubbornness sometimes. Like, oh, but this should work. See, it works. So what I'm doing right now is I have on my upper body day, which are Mondays, you know, I'm gonna do a couple of pulls. We're gonna get to the compounds also, but there's of course it involves the biceps, even though I don't think it's necessarily enough to build the biceps, but I will have gotten some volume for it. And then I have a preacher curl later as my curl movement on that day. And I've actually thrown in on Wednesdays that I train grip and neck anyway. So I've thrown in like one exercise there, and I've chosen a spider curl that I didn't even write here because I think it's working out, it seems like, for me. But this would not be the typical exercise that I recommend. It's more of a shortened bias, like you're going to be leaning on a bench in front of you like this. But on the Wednesday specifically, I do it with dumbbells so I can get that supination into it also. And then I have on Fridays, it's my pull day, pure pull day. So I'm going to do a few pull exercises, but on that day I have 2 curls. And so now that's when I do the spider curl but with a bar, and again with this grip now, because it just seems to be working out better for me. But I've also gone a lot higher on the reps. I've progressed, like I took a 30 kilo bar and maybe I did 12, I don't remember on the first, but I've just been adding reps to that. And my goal is to get to 20, which I should do on this Friday, and that's when I'm gonna go up in weight and start over at a slightly lower rep range. But I picked a higher rep range to really think, really trying to create that mind-muscle connection, and having low enough weight that I think it's possible to actually influence that. No, curl with the biceps, damn you. Curl with the biceps. And then, because incline curls, that like I want to love this exercise in theory. I program it for clients all the time. Many people love it. But for me, the standard way of doing it has just made it feel so much in the brachioradialis. So I've done the same thing now. I backed in weight, and I actually do a thing where I'm not really curling, you know, from here. Actually externally rotate my shoulders, so it's more from the outside in. And then I just go really low on the weight and higher reps, you know, and it burns like hell in the biceps now. And it seems like, you know, since I said, I even saw today that I made some progress. So it just seems like it's working out. Compounds, you know, it's again, it goes into the experiments that I think when you're starting out training, like no matter who you are, if you get stronger on some pull-ups and row exercises, you're going to build your biceps also. And I think probably even when you're going to specialize and do isolations, I think having that foundation of good compounds is always going to help and be important. But it might be like, I want to tell you that again, this has not really worked out for me, that I always wanted, because I like them too, a supinated weighted chin up to be like a biceps compound. Definitely grew my biceps a bit in the beginning, but I got really strong on those. Like I did a dead hang 1 rep max, you know, all the way up to here with 3 plates, 60 kilos when I weighed 82 kilos. And of course then I could do quite good rep sets also, but I just did not have any big biceps to show for it. But that could be the case for some people to try switching. It would mostly be the supinated position on different rows and pull downs and pull ups, chin ups, right? But even there, I'll say the last thing that I'm starting to suspect almost that even this kind of grip, that's why I'm thinking maybe I should experiment with the hammer curls, you know. Maybe somehow my anatomy just recruits more biceps in that, because when I do a pull-up like this, I can actually often end up feeling it quite a bit in the biceps in a way that I just don't there. So all of this, you know, I'm sorry if it's a little bit messy, but you see that clearly I know a lot of people have struggled with arms, me being one of them. So I'm just throwing many different ideas at you to be like, these are some things to keep in mind, experiment like this, but it mustn't be that what has turned out to work for me and works for you in the end. So, you know, just throwing all these ideas at you. Triceps. So I didn't just collect exercises in the same way, because I think there are 2 different ones that you should have in biceps. I think it's much more, for me and my experience at least, like the one you connect well with, like really, that you really feel in the biceps. In the triceps it's the same thing, but I can more tell you like these are the 2 kinds of exercises you should focus on. So for that, you know, the triceps, as the name suggests, have 3 heads. All of them extend the elbow, but one of them extends the shoulder, also back here. So to get a good stretch on that, we're gonna have to get in some kind of overhead position, right? And then it's just some kind of extension, more just extension focused exercise. It's gonna target the other 2 more, right? So when it comes to overhead, for me personally, I've just noticed that most just weighted overhead exercises, like the French press, you know, like having a dumbbell like this or a barbell even, they have just never felt good to me. They feel too much like a press. I feel like I'm recruiting too much shoulder in them. So the one that's always been my favorite is a lying C-bar extension. You know, some people get problems with the elbows from that. I have never. From that one, even going quite heavy on it. But you know, then I would like you to do it in a way that, you know, you're not here, you're actually going out here. And then I see some people kind of, you know, they make it so it's almost, you know, pretend that I'm lying on my back now. It's still supposed to go up, you know, but it's never supposed to come over your head. You want to be outside your head like this. This one has always been a good long head exercise for me. Another one, so I'm giving you some examples now. If you're someone else that feels like, well, just this standing with a weight overhead just doesn't connect well with you. Another one I really liked is, I know Jeffrey, GBS, does this one too. A high cable and a rope, and you know, you have to kind of crunch away like this and then extend like this. And what you can do here is also, when you can't pull the ropes apart anymore, you can keep going by pushing them together like this. That one always connected with my long head a lot. And then when it comes to push downs, honestly, you can do rope push downs, but to me they've always been more of a warm-up exercise. I've never preferred to use a rope. I like, and that's what I'm doing right now, a V-bar push down. So you get into more this position and you just push down. And this, again, I would urge you to experiment on this too, because I used to do it as a very pure extension. I just feel when I make it almost a little bit of a press, so it's like, if you say I exaggerate just to make you understand, kind of more like this than just this. I just feel it connect more with the triceps. And I would say I don't want to get too far up, but as I've gotten stronger and can use quite a bit of weight on it, I let my elbows just drift up a little bit to kind of get some help from the lats just to initiate the movement like that. But I used to do it more strictly. But yeah, putting just a little bit of press into it. You know, press extension, it's always... Many of these moves are kind of a continuum. Another one, just to make you kind of understand, is like a fly compared to a press. Like a press would be something very much, you know, when the elbow bends and extends, while a completely pure fly would be almost straight arm throughout it. But there is something in between there also, kind of the same with like this extension press thing. So just be looking for the one that works for you. Or I said, if it works for you to have a dumbbell or a like C-bar and do a French press, it's like great. But I just never liked it. But one I'm doing now that I'm connecting really well with is I take one rope on a low cable, and then I cannot just stand like this, but I can actually turn. I get this twist into. I'm thinking, right? Yeah, it should be like that. Yeah, because then I just feel like it pulls, and it's such a good stretch on the long head of the triceps. It's just that you're never going to be able to load that one as heavy, so probably should be combined with other exercises. But yeah, that's the one I found. Actually, doing it one-handed in general has worked better for me. Like when I think of it, when I had a while when I did it like with a kettlebell, like this, something with just the position I can get into doing it one hand at a time. For me, it's just better than any two-handed French press variation. I would say on triceps, especially the medial and lateral head, compounds are going to matter a bit more than on the biceps. And so, of course, any press is going to recruit your triceps to some extent. But what you can do if you want to specialize a bit more on triceps for a while is you could switch a regular bench press to a close grip. I even done that on incline bench. But I'll say also dips. Dips definitely seem to recruit the triceps quite a bit. I've just put weighted dips back in my program, not having them for a while, and I feel a lot in the triceps. But yeah, I would say, you know, having the foundation of compounds, especially as a beginner, like the compounds are going to do a lot on their own, but why not? We're going to get to programming. Why not get at least one biceps and one triceps exercise in per week? It's going to add something to you as a beginner. So, you know, we always, no matter who we are, we want the foundation of big movements, but it's going to matter more to isolate when you get more advanced. But why not throw in just one per week at least as a beginner? But so with programming, of course, the way I do is sort of upper-lower push-pull legs. So what I do on the upper day is sometimes I haven't even done a triceps exercise on the upper day, like an isolated one, because triceps are just easier for me than biceps. But after the initial compounds, you know, put one of each works well for me. Then I have the push and pull. So I will do 2 triceps exercises on the push day and 2 biceps on the pull day. And for me, I've even on this misc day on Wednesdays put in 1 curl, you know. But what you can do, if we have a full body, like 3 times per week, a sort of beginner up to novice, a beginner up to intermediate kind of program, you could just on one of the days, if you got a biceps and 1 triceps isolation in, that would be great. That would just contribute to like faster arm growth like that. Another good one is if you do an upper lower and you do you know, upper twice, lower twice, and you can have 1 arm day on top of that. So you can focus on compounds, maybe other isolations, possibly on the 2 upper days, and then you have the arm day when you really zone in on the arms. I've done it like this in the past. I'd say on a typical arm day, I think 2 biceps exercises, 2 triceps exercises, possibly some forearms, but we're not really talking much about forearms here because I'm going to do a separate video on that. But, you know, to make the because 2 biceps, 2 triceps, you get that out of the way quite quickly. You probably have time to do some forearms. But if I am to try to make up what I think is like, let's say just a theoretical good arm workout for just a person, not even thinking about myself, you know, I would like one bigger movement for the biceps. Like, so we take a barbell curl or a preacher curl. Could be a spider curl with a barbell also as our first exercise. And it's actually, you know, that's something to mention. A lengthened, like exercise that put a lot of stress on the lengthened position. They are a bit more, they are generally very good for hypertrophy, but they can be more like, you know, there's a higher degree of risk, so it can be good to have warmed up the muscle with a different exercise first. That's why I would do it in that order. But then I would love, always, if the incline curl worked, like you said, I've had to adjust it quite a bit to feel like it even works for me. But having some bigger barbell movement followed by an incline curl, that I think is a great biceps workout in general. For triceps, I would love to start with some kind of, you know, overhead extension like the one lying with the C-bar. But of course, if it would work for you, a French press variation would be fine, followed up with some push down. I generally prefer the V-bar, but of course you can do rope push down. What I'll say with a rope push down is that you cannot do a completely just strict push down, in my opinion, because when you reach some kind of failure on that, at a point when you're advanced enough, it's just not going to be enough to stimulate. So you're gonna have to get a little bit ugly on it. You know, Jeffrey style, again, like being explosive down and controlling the eccentric or something like that, right? But that would be a nice arm workout with a couple of, you know, forearm exercises on top of that. But you gotta have your compounds in the program as a whole also. But yeah, no, I think that's it, guys. Please let me know in the comments. What do you think, your arm workouts? I don't need advice, okay, guys? Like, it's been too tricky and individual. I've thought about this. It's like, so whatever you come up with, it's probably not helpful. It's probably just annoying, you know. But share your stuff. Tell me your arms, you know, because I don't give a shit what you do if you have like these arms, you know. But please start a discussion in the comments, guys. I am interested in some of it, you know. And please, I do holistic bodybuilding coaching, getting jacked and stacked mentally, physically, spiritually, working on ourselves, body, mind, and soul, becoming that person that just is jacked, you know. And of course, making a training program for you is part of the program. So if you're interested, you can send me a DM on Instagram or email me. It's in the description below. You can pick up my training book, everything training, mindset, philosophy that you need to become a self-reliant, jacked and stacked individual. And please subscribe for more content about fitness, fast losing weight, building muscle, self-improvement, stoicism, mental health, philosophy, spirituality, mindset. It is a mindset, guys. Big arms are beautiful. Peace.